Okay, good evening. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Zoom version of Sidestreet Arts. We are opening our show tonight. This is October 2nd, and we have a wonderful show up. It's kind of a retrospective of a lifetime of work and pre-work by one of our member artists, Bridget, and it is a sketchbooked life. It is sketchbooks and artwork from that Bridget has been doing for what is about 30 years worth of sketches.
About 30 years, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So there are things that inspired art. There are sketchbooks that became art, and there's even sketchbooks that you can have. So we will we'll get started. My name is Michelle Sabatier, and I'm a member at the gallery. So if you have questions, I think most people have Zoomed a lot now, but if you should have any questions as we're going along, please just type them into the chat. And we've got one of our members here, Melody Bush, will try to answer the questions, the general questions that she can. And then if there's other things in the chat, I can pose them to Bridget as we go along. We'll talk about process mostly on our next meeting, on our Sunday brunch. If you're a Sidestreet friend of the gallery, you know that we usually have a mid-month Sunday brunch. And those were traditionally artist talks. And we've been focusing on process since we're doing Zoom with that, and that's when we'll really be in Bridget's studio, and maybe even bring along your sketchbooks, and we'll do process things. But we're going to mostly get into her mind this time. Next time will be your hands, but we'll do the mind this time. This is just the beginning of the slideshow here. So, Bridget, before we get started looking at the artwork, 30 years of sketchbooking. Wow.
Yeah. It's been a wild ride of sketchbooking. So a little bit of history on where I started on this, and I'll go into this more on the art talk. But my high school art teacher required us for the semester to carry a sketchbook everywhere we went, and doing the drawings, and then we were to turn them in, and she would depending I guess on how many drawings there were, give you a passing or A, B, C, or D or whatever. So that was my first sort of introduction to actually carrying a sketchbook wherever you went, because before that I had just a spiral sketchbook that I occasionally did a drawing or two in. I have some very embarrassing pictures in there. But you're a teenager, preteen, and you put weird drawings in your sketchbook, which is perfectly, absolutely okay. But so in high school, I made the habit of carrying a sketchbook. It continued into my first year of college, when my professor also required a sketchbook to be carried at all times. And that sort of cemented it. And it became, to me, almost like a Linus's security blanket. I felt naked and afraid if I did not have my sketchbook with me and a pencil to write in. So that is kind of my little, this is how it started. And I've only ever left my sketchbook one place. And it was thankfully returned to me, but it was a scary situation. I left it at college in one of my classes. And thankfully, someone found it and was honest about returning it. And but that was the afraid, sitting in the corner like Linus, chewing on my nails sort of situation. But
was that your first piece of advice? Is put your name and some way to contact you first?
Yes, every single sketchbook has my name. It has like my email or something in it. Yes, absolutely. So in preparation for this show, which this show actually sort of moved from being a group show to a retrospective of my 30 years of carrying a sketchbook. But so when it finally moved to just me showing, I had to prep by going through every single sketchbook that I created, and there are now 155 of them. And basically, I photographed the cover of each sketchbook, the ones that are numbered and unnumbered. I created a date, where it lives on the scale. the dates that I was doing them in, and then a brief synopsis and what sort of materials I used in it. And so I have this massive sort of list. I created 2 copies, one that I'm holding now and one that's at the gallery, so that you can flip through it and just kind of see the 155 different sketchbooks. So that was sort of my prep for it. And that actually helped me organize, because how do you go through 30 years of sketchbooks and figure out what it is you're going to talk about on the walls? And that's basically what it is I'm talking, when I have a sketchbook, I'm talking to my sketchbook. It's a conversation with myself. And by showing them, I'm now having a conversation with the viewer. So what do I put up? So I kind of broken the show up into the sketchbooks, which I have some hanging on the wall, and I have some that are open to actually view, to go through, and then artworks that were where the creative process started in the sketchbook. And then I have new artworks inspired by old drawings in sketchbooks. So I've got these 3 sort of different ways to have a conversation with you, I guess, is really the way to say it. And then each of the artworks is, I wanted to pull out the themes that are reoccurring and images that are reoccurring in my sketchbooks. So all the artwork that you're seeing, you know, they're reoccurring, or it's something that obviously meant something to me in my life, and that I choose to revisit. And then there's also collage. I did a lot of collage on the covers of many of my sketchbooks, and I'll be sharing that tonight. And then because it's October, I had to go with spooky stuff, because that's it, no brainer. As a cartoonist, I had to put the scary, spooky stuff in. So scary in quotation marks.
And your ghosts are very nice ghosts. They are.
They're not,
I know that they have other
right.
meanings as well for you, as they probably do for all of us. Before we start looking at them, a couple of questions about, and again, maybe it's too much process, but we can do it again next Sunday. So when you were looking at these, when you decided to get down, you know, 155 sketchbooks and start looking through them, did you do that by yourself? Were you with somebody talking them through, or did you make that sort of just you and the sketchbooks talking together? Did you cry? I just, the idea of doing that is just what a treat, first of all, right? To be able to do that, to look at 30 years of your life, and see things that I'm sure you remembered a lot of it, but I'm sure some of it, the minute you turn that page, it's like, oh, it all comes back.
Okay, so yes, I turned a significant number this year. And part of this,
0 on it.
it had a 0. It's a 0. And so this was the perfect exercise, because you, as a human, you were constantly reevaluating, and you're reevaluating your life, and you're comparing, you know, this and that, and you know, what happened then and what's happening now. And so going through these, and I did go through them by myself. It was a sort of a solitary activity. And there are a series of sketchbooks from about 2003, 2004 to about 2006 that are just so difficult for me to get into. And I don't really go into those sketchbooks very often, because I poured myself out into these sketchbooks. It was difficult for me to revisit them, and because I immediately fall into sadness. That was a difficult time in my life, in my family's life. We lost my dad to cancer, and then of course, you know, as artists, we feel everything so deeply. And so, you know, I had dealt with a breakup. There was setbacks. I was living. It was a mess. Those were the icky, yucky, bad times. And I don't visit them very often if I don't have to.
But you kept doing it. You kept keeping the book. And that is what is so wonderful, right? That's when most people give up.
You know what? I have to express myself, and those feelings and things. And that's something I'll go into during the art talk, is those feelings have to go somewhere. And I'm a huge proponent of keeping a sketchbook, especially with kids. When they're in school, they're going through all kinds of stuff. And I said, well, you know, when I'm working, teaching kids how to cartoon and stuff, and I said, well, draw a picture of the fight you had with your sister this morning and she dumped your bowl of Fruit Loops over. You want to save that in some way, or just get it off your plate, literally, or off your bowl, out of your bowl, and just onto the paper, because it's going to help you deal with it. And so I'm happy that I had that skill of sketchbooking in order to help me get through those times. And I'll actually talk about the covers, because many of the covers of the books, I like them very much, but they are what's on the front of those very difficult sketchbooks.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get started with the sketchbook.
Yes. Let's go.
You know, and it is, you're right on trend here, really, because the whole daily sketchbook practice, I guess, with the, you know, Instagram and all of that, and this is October, the Inktober month, where everybody draws, and hopefully people keep it up. You know, it's a great inspiration to hear someone that does it for that long, and not just their 100 days, or, you know, you do those challenges, but you did the mother of all sketchbook challenges. So let's get started. And I think we start with a couple of the covers, reproductions of some covers.
Yes, they are. This is a reproduction. Let's see, that one's number 70. And again, this was during that time period. I actually have, because I have my master list, I can give you the exact dates of sketchbook number 70, if anybody. I mean, it mattered to me, but that was February 28th through March 30th, 2005. Now, actually, when I do a sketchbook, I absolutely I start my sketchbook with a date, the date that I started, and then when I finish it, I put the end date as well. It creates a journal and a diary for me. And I've actually gone back to these to kind of see what happened if I, you know, lose track of time or whatever. If I'm looking for a specific event, I'll go back to a sketchbook to find out. But this one, I think you can kind of see it might be a little bit of a hint as to, you know, some of the awful things that were going on. It was the ouch at the top, and the muertos, meaning, you know, the Day of the Dead, which is actually really rather significant right now, it being the time period. But also to kind of point out a couple of things that are happening in this collage is that I was really working to find what was happening in my life and the reasons behind it. I believe that everything happens for a reason. I'm one of those people. I'm one of those people that, you know, tells you, well, everything happens for a reason. But I was looking for sort of ways to deal with it. You have on the bottom, you have the flower, and my life was in flux. I've always loved the word flux. And so obviously going through magazines and whatnot, I naturally picked that out. But the flowers at the bottom, you know, the celebration of beautifulness. Angels, I believe that we always have angels looking over us. And then, of course, the holy, you know, right at the top there was my kind of saying, oh my God, you know, I'm going through a horrible time, but, you know, I'm sort of appealing to angels, you know, maybe for help. But anyway, oftentimes bad things, I also believe that when bad things happen, good things also happen. It's kind of like the balance in life. I'm often reminded of the little kid that's looking for the pony, and she's shoveling pony manure, looking for the horse. You know, that I'm looking for the horse. So
as we look at, this is not a sketchbook cover. This is an actual drawing. I'll ask you when we get to another cover.
Okay. This one here is actually I did the sketch for this on my first trip to Paris, which was a phenomenal trip. It was my first trip to Europe, where it opened my eyes. I was now a traveler, and this one's called A Paris. And it is it's a fellow in actually the bookshop, the Shakespeare bookshop, Shakespeare and Company in Paris. So it's an English speaking bookstore in Paris, and it's but there was this very scholarly looking fella that was in the bookstore, and I sneaked a sketch of them. And you know, as many artists do when they're sketchbooking, they'll, you know, kind of casually bring up their sketchbook and then, you know, kind of make a sketch a little bit and then turn away and look back and kind of just, this is glasses. So this was actually done not long ago. It was my making an artwork from a sketch, from an old sketch, so new art from an old sketch. And that was a wonderful moment in my travels that I captured there. So
I love the way you depicted the book too, with the words,
The-
there's little words in there flowing out.
what's funny is that because this is Shakespeare and Company, that it says "as you like it." I don't know if you can see,
Yeah, I can see that.
but the "as you like it," at the time I was not very well versed in Shakespeare, but Judy is. And so we had gone and seen "As You Like It" here in Laurelhurst Park. They were doing an outside. And so that was the inspiration to actually put that. I don't know what this guy was reading, but, you know, I inserted that. So it was, but it was Shakespeare. It meant that was sort of a little detail that meant something to me. So.
Okay, so this one, is this another cover? So I wanted to ask you about your covers.
Yeah.
Do you do the cover all at once when you start the sketchbook, or does it kind of, do you add things to it during the months that you're using that sketchbook?
That's a great question, Michelle. So I'm usually very prepared, and I usually buy my sketchbooks ahead of time. So, you know, I've got, you know, 2 sketchbooks waiting in the wings for me. And so usually what will happen, and there's been exceptions, is I will work this out earlier before I actually start the sketchbook and do the cover first. Because those who collage kind of know that you know, you're always pulling paper around and moving it around, and you know, and I don't glue anything down until I kind of have a pretty good layout. So no, what I'll do, you know, as I'm getting closer to needing the new sketchbook, I'll have it done. That's pretty much how I'm sort of, yeah, that's how that process kind of works. And so I've already done the artwork, and now I can start carrying it around, sort of thing. There's only been a few instances where that was not the case.
And these little framed, they're just about the size of the sketchbook, right? Aren't they like 5x7-ish?
Yes, those
Figured
that
out.
one. Yes, they're just about the 5. Yes, the 5x7 is the Robert Bateman is the particular sketchbooks that I used on these, and they are exactly like a 5x7. So.
Okay, so let's see. Oh, this is one of the big paintings.
This is a rather large painting, and I was very inspired. This is actually 30 by 40 inches, and my Salinas friends and family there might recognize it. I did it in 2016. It was at the time I had discovered a doodle artist named John Bergerman. And the way John Bergerman works is he's very stream of conscience. He'll just put his pen down, and he'll move it around and make shapes. And then he'll say, oh, well, this looks like this. And so he goes with it. So in a way, it's very improvisational in the way he works. And so having discovered him, I thought, and absolutely loving improvisation, improv, I decided that I wanted to work in that style. And so I was doing these doodles in my sketchbooks, and in sort of public, we would do something called the West End event every year. It was an outdoor event, and I would bring my easel to this event, and I would have a large easel, the paper on the easel, and I would just put my Posca marker down and just let it go, and just whatever came to mind just got on the paper, and then I would color it, and in the same manner. And so this was one of the first paintings that I actually, you know, on an actual canvas as opposed to just paper or in my sketchbook, that I applied that sort of new way of working.
I love how circular, like even the solid areas, you can't see where I'm, you know, like I'm looking at his face. I wish I could use a mouse or a little pointer. even when you're filling in areas, I noticed like on that guy's forehead, you fill in with these wonderful circles, and it has so much movement in it. So yeah, the um, intuitive painting is really popular right now. Ruth has her hand up. She's using
Ooh.
that.
Oh, oh.
What did you want to say?
Well, but I'm not sure if it looks like my video is not on because that's a weird picture of me. But
Oh, we see you, and you don't look weird.
No, there you
okay.
go.
Yeah, your video's on.
Okay, so Bridget, I just wanted to ask, like, when you said like when you started out, you just put your Posca marker down and
Yeah.
go with it. So I'm presuming that you start with your black one.
I absolutely do, because as a cartoonist, that is what makes sense to me. I
Right.
start with a line, and because acrylics are so easy to just let it dry and then paint over it, I always start with the line first for
Okay.
me.
So
And then I go back in with other colors, and then I'll I'll go back in with the black line if I feel like I've erased something I didn't want to. Or
So my question then is, when you're starting with your black one, do you actually draw shapes, or do you just kind of let your marker go and then when you stop, you sit back and look and see what shapes you might see? Like
I'll put the mark. First of all, that I should preface that I did start with with the color, the flat color on the bottom, and then it was a house paint blue, I think, or something.
Oh.
And then I went in with the black marker and just started, I might have had something in mind at this point, as far as because the cat and the coffee comes up a lot, and that's something I'll talk about, because those are both of those are themes that I use a lot in my sketchbooks. Coffee and cats show up quite a bit.
Well, this one
And
has 4 cups of coffee, so I think you're pretty caffeinated there.
yeah, well, this one's called artistic spirit, so artistic license, rather. No, hold on. Artistic license is what this is, but it's the creative spirit, basically. So but yeah, I think I pretty much put my pen, my Posca pen down, which is an acrylic paint marker, and just started making, circles are so easy to get into, and it requires your entire elbow and your arm. And I'm sure that that the person in the creative spirit coming out of the coffee cup there was probably one of the beginnings. I generally start somewhere near the middle. So
Okay, thank
yeah.
you.
Mm-hmm.
So we have another. This one has the a little bit of the sketches that I think led up to this one, right? Some of these cats.
Right. So in my sketchbooks, I've been they always serve to let my mind wander. Doodles are definitely something that I tend to use. Put my pen to paper, and I try to stay like my pen moving during television. I try not to just watch television. I try to keep my pen moving. But yes, you can kind of see where in the sketch, which is an actual sketch out of one of the books, where I was going. So I'm sure that I had that in mind, or I'm sure that I had that nearby, or had done that first before I started that piece. Absolutely.
And then with some of these, when you buy the painting or the collages or whatever, you get the little copy of the sketch. It's a reproduction of the sketch mounted on a foam core.
Yes, you get
have that like a little certificate of authenticity to know.
Yeah, this is where it came from. And this piece is 24 by 30. And it's called Coffee
These are the only 2 big pieces that you have, right? Everything else.
These are the largest. Yes, these are the only 2 large pieces. Yeah, and that one's called Coffee Cats.
It needs to go in a coffee shop soon. And this is your book. So a little bit about your book series. We've got these books for sale in the store.
So most people probably who know me know that I did a comic strip for a number of years, and it's how I met some of my friends who are here tonight. When I lived in the Monterey Bay area, I moved to Pacific Grove for a while, and at that time I went to go visit my sister, and she was attending Ohio State University, and she told me about a comic retrospective of not Charles Schultz, but Bill Watterson's Calvin and Hobbes. And I went and saw that show. And even though I had been doing cartooning before, I had not done comic strips. Now I loved comic strips, but I didn't feel like that was my road. But after seeing that show, it really inspired me. And so this was 2002. I went home and I learned everything I possibly could about cartooning because it only existed in books at that point. There was no college courses in cartooning at that time. In fact, I did take like a class on cartooning at the university level, but they were few and far between. So now they have whole colleges devoted to them, and that's wonderful. But so anyway, I developed this comic strip. And then, of course, the whole, family thing happened in 2006, and I had to put it all aside after being rejected many times from many of the syndicates that I had applied to. But then in 2009, I put all of my stuff up on the internet and started doing a daily myself. And I got better because anything you do for a long time, you get better at doing it. So I had it up for about a year, and then my local newspaper picked it up. And so it is about a starving artist living in a touristy seaside community, which was modeled after Monterey and the Cannery Row area. So I never mentioned them. I do mention Steinbeck, which was an influence, but I don't mention Monterey. I call it Cypress City. I don't say Cannery Row, I just call it the Row. But really the microcosm of this, this is all the characters have, ties to Cannery Row, essentially. And the television show at the time, Friends. I was heavily influenced by both of those things. So these are her group of friends that in the comic strip, and they're all bohemian types. Anyway, I'm going on and on and on. But the idea is that I used my sketchbooks quite a bit to come up with ideas. And so, for 20 years, 20 years? 2002 to, there were just Randy and Ryan sketches all throughout my sketchbooks. So it's a big part of my sketchbooking was this comic strip.
It's nice. I love that you stuck with it for that long too. So yeah, these books are and they're good size, and they're like, how many?
They are the industry standard. They're 128 pages, full color. And the first one is Welcome to the Neighborhood. It is not exactly where the comic strip starts, but it is when it got published in the newspaper. So, and then Down But Not Out was the following one. And there's I still have the website up, squidrowcomics.com, where you can kind of you can go in and see them. It was a daily, and you can still go in and read them.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to, here's some of your drawings, and we're about halfway through. So I want to kind of,
okay. Yeah.
This one is already grabbed up. Somebody got this one before the show even opened.
Yes, one of my Patreons. I was so grateful. Yes, he fell in love with the sea monster. This one started out as an illustration for one of my zines. I do an Artorama zine, and it comes out every other month. And so I did a whole zine on monsters and things that scare us. And so, things in the deep was the inspiration for this one. And it was black and white to begin with, but for this show, I pulled out the original drawing, which was on Bristol board, and I hand colored it.
It's a great drawing. It's just a marvelous drawing.
And that is the original sketch next to it. And my friend Jack, who I think is lurking, I think
is that down in the lower right there?
Is that Jack's around? I can't see anybody, but yeah, he was in the room when I was doing the vampire, which you'll see in another one.
Yeah, I think that's next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I kind of see those two as a pair.
Yeah, they work. I'm here, says Jack. These two were done for the same issue of the zine. Both were just done in black and white. And this one, if you can lean in, it says Jack was trying to draw a guy, blah blah blah, because he does a comic strip called Sketchy People. So he was working on Sketchy People while I was working on this vampire, and which is actually based. I call this a electronic vampire, and it was based on a picture I had seen of Moby, which is the electronic music fella.
Now I see it.
Now you see it. Now you see Moby. Exactly. That's where that started. That was the inspiration. And I had done this drawing, and I specifically remember, I think, asking Jack some questions about it. And he said, I think you see it in there. It says, Jack suggested putting him in front of 50 licks, which would have made it a much more difficult drawing. So
Oh, the ice cream store, yeah, down the street.
yes.
So I think
50
now
licks is the
we
ice
need to
cream
get a Moby playlist going in the gallery
There
when we're opening, because yeah, now I'll never not see that. I love it. So I think we're going to go through a couple of covers
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah.
I love that you've got the Wild Thing guy under there.
My favorite children's book as a very young child was Where the Wild Things Are, and that's absolutely why that's in there.
It's an important book.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely. And then here are some of the original covers. So we have a few of the actual sketchbooks. Some are open, which just the opportunity to come in and look through someone's sketchbook. You know, it's like going through someone's kitchen drawers. You know, I just love to look at someone else's sketchbook. It's not quite as fun when you're allowed. Maybe we should have like a little curtain that you pull on the alcove and pretend like it's really fun. But some of these you cannot open, and these are mounted up on the wall, some of them. And you know, I think when you see them as a group like this, you know, one of the things I mentioned to Bridget when I was building the shop and putting things up, and I had looked at all these things before, but when you really start looking at them and seeing them over and over again, they are those kinds of things that each time you look at it, you see another little something that you didn't notice before.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I love about the reproductions that you've got for your some of the covers, that you just see something different every time.
Yeah, and that's why I thought they might be interesting to look at, and quite, I mean, I was at the time I had a massive drawer full of just nothing but paper. I mean, just a stacked drawer, and each of the drawers had you know, one was labeled words, one was labeled patterns, one was labeled photos, and I would go through these, and so they were very you know, these collages had this sort of interesting, you know, I was just, whatever I was feeling came out onto them. And some of them are manifestations of what I wanted. I didn't want to be in this or this situation. I wanted to be in Paris, you know, at the Eiffel Tower. And there's a sketchbook in there somewhere of the Eiffel Tower. And that's, you know, was a desire. And so I was working my way through making myself feel better by seeing images of what I wanted and physically pasting them down. So,
well, and the 3 different moods that you've got going here, you know, it's just like 3 totally different parts of your life. Yeah. You know, you go from Calvin and Hobbes to your sort of punk period, and then these beautiful flowers, and yeah, it's definitely, there's a lot going on in that brain of yours, I think. Yeah, and then here's some other ones. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you want to mention today Charles Schulz.
I will absolutely mention today, because if you look in it says celebrate Peanuts 60 years right there in the corner of that. Well, today, this very day is the 70th year of Peanuts. And in the store window, in the gallery window, I have my Peanuts mug right in the front window with pens in it as an homage to one of my heroes. And it was an early love of Peanuts that I got from my dad, and I've loved it ever since I was 4 years old. So it comes out in you know. But anyway, happy anniversary.
Yeah, we talked about this when we came in and looked at the show. The Peanuts was sort of that first comic that I think for most of us, it was the first one we got that we knew there was a little bit more there than what just like a kid, but like it's not just funny on this level. Yeah. And we started to get it, you know. Yeah. And then you graduate to Calvin Hobbes. Yeah. Yeah. So let's see. Oh, and here come your ghosts. Lots of ghosts.
And here are the ghosts. Now the ghosts they're kind of interesting to me because they represent a lot of my negative feedback loop. They're good and bad, and at certain times of my life they were more hurtful, and then they kind of graduated to being less hurtful. So, you know, as an artist, I think we all like I said, we deeply feel things, and I have a lot of, you know, failures in my life and hurtful memories. And so I used to say that the ghosts would come out when I used to hide all of my troubles in a drawer. I might get in trouble for saying that's a very Catholic thing to do, but you just don't want to deal with whatever, and you just shove it in a drawer. And so when I do deal with it, or I do go there, open that sketchbook and read, essentially that's letting the ghost out of the drawer. So I actually have some sketches of me with the ghosts coming out of the closet and out of the drawers and haunting me. So some of these memories that I have literally haunt me. So that's kind of where the ghosts came from. Aside from the fact that spooks are fun at Halloween, and all of my Halloween sketchbooks were always very lively with ghosts and drawings of Snoopy and the Red Baron, you know, that whole Great Pumpkin sort of thing. But so I just sort of lommed on to ghosts, and they turned out to be both friendly and like friend and foe. But these ones here are more friend. And the background is walnut ink. So all the writing that you see there was done in walnut ink, which is very permanent. If you get walnut ink on your fingertips, it's going to be there for a while.
It's very translucent too. It's really beautiful.
I love walnut ink, and I discovered it when I moved up here. So the writing, which it's sort of symbolic, you know, very permanent, very in the background, but you know, natural.
And there are words in there. I love that. That it's not just like that fake scribble stuff. There's actually words in there. I
did free writing for those pieces, for both of those pieces. So I did add some other things to it. I think I added some gouache and Posca marker, and then also a little bit of Inktense, permanent watercolor pencil. So
my favorite thing is where something's scratched out on that one.
Yeah, that was a blurb, and then I decided I didn't want it to be a blurb and that I wanted it to be scratchy, so I went ahead and made it scratchy. And I used one of those dip pens.
Yeah, it's such a pen thing, you know, like you look even back at like old historical letters and stuff, and they just, you know, they're writing along and they just blurb and then they cross it and keep going, and it's I love it.
And those are actual dip pens. So this is a piece I did for the Monterey Museum of Art. They have a miniatures show every year, and so it's a collage, and it's mixed media, acrylic, and on top of paper, book paper, but it's on a canvas, and so this one is a reproduction of that painting that I did. I think it's 6x6, and then the sketch that it came from.
So either of these, you can get the framed one with the sketch or the little guy.
Yes,
available too unframed.
Yes.
And conveniently, we are next door to a frame store.
Indeed. This one, the themes and recurring characters, obviously ghosts are one of them. Cats is another. Comics and cartoons being, you know, another thing. Abstraction and coffee. So this one's called I Used to Haunt Coffee Houses. And this came out of my lament of not being able to sit in a coffee house with my friend Jack and draw. And it really was something, an enjoyable activity that I would do often, go sit in a coffee shop and draw. And so I used to haunt coffee houses, basically is my lamenting. And again, there's a drawing, there's writing behind it.
Sorry, this just happened.
Oh, now everybody can see what's going on. Oh, the bones. Everyone can see the bones of the operation.
I was trying to look at it also on my iPad so I could see where we were. But then that happened. Now I can do it anyway. So we have quite a bit to go. So I might just kind of keep flipping as you talk, actually. So more of these little, I like the blue, and several of the sketchbooks, the available blank books have ghosts. And then here's some more of the covers.
That's an inside cover. I decided I liked that one a lot, and it needed to be framed.
It's unusual colors for you. I always think of you with the blue. That's a lot of
Isn't it? Yeah. Exactly. That's not my normal
but it's still
color.
Your reds and
Yeah.
Because I was looking for colors to put type with and stuff. And
Yeah.
yeah, these dark reds, and I love that like umber color too. There's
Yeah,
is that the one you were talking about with the Eiffel Tower?
Yes, I was very lonely at the time. I was living alone up in Scotts Valley, and really, you know, with the word smoochy and trip, you know, comic strips. I really wanted to be in Paris. I really wanted to be drawing comics, and I just love bees. The bees are always so busy, and so that was I think my desire to travel and to be busy and to be everything that I was not at that time. So,
yeah. So here are the sketchbooks. These are really nice. What are they, like 3 by 5-ish kind of?
mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and they're Moleskine brand. They're not those little cheap craft sketchbooks. They have what, 60 pages. It's 30 sheets. So you can have 60 numbered pages in them. And it's really nice, that very nice smooth paper that the Moleskine books have. And the little pocket in the back, and each one is different. They're hand drawn, obviously, on there. And if you want to get in there and get one for yourself, and then maybe we can all sketch on Sunday.
There was 15.
The 15th. Is that when it
there
is?
was 15 of them to start, and then but 4
They're
I think
flying out of
sold.
there. Yeah, they're flying out. Let me say the date for the art talk.
The art talk is on the 18th.
18th,
Sunday
18th is when we're doing the
At
art talk.
noon.
And it would be really nice if people had sketchbooks to show. Because I know I sometimes one time after a gallery meeting, I think it was just one of our board meetings, that afterwards Bridget sent me the picture of me and my cat, who usually is parked behind me. Like, you are always sketching. But yeah, this is a good way to start carrying a little tiny sketchbook with you all the time, right? And I love
Absolutely.
the Nocturne Cat. I hope that's one that's not gone yet.
That one has not sold yet.
Oh, yeah.
This is my favorite.
I love this.
I think one of my favorite covers. It was done for my second trip to Europe, and it was obviously it's a travel theme, and this was 2010 when that trip occurred, and I love the colors in this. I love the wording. There's a little Mary Inglebright down at the bottom, you know, talking about you know, being on a journey. And that's exactly what this was. So so this one is a bit longer. I think it's 9 inches long, but it was again a Robert Bateman. It has the lovely spiral on the side, but
and the original is in the gallery too, isn't it?
The original is not. It's a reproduction, but
I thought, don't we have it displayed there?
No, I have the original right here with me.
Because when you have the ones that we have, you can put the two together. They're really excellent reproductions of these.
Yes, I have a very nice printer.
We all love a nice printer. So is this from the Squid Row series? Is
yes.
This from like what we would find if we open those books?
Yes, this is this one was actually done in 2010. I have always, this is one of the places where Randy hangs out, at this particular bench, which usually has lots of seagull poop all over it, but for whatever reason I chose not to put the seagull poop in there. But anyway, there's also the Moss Landing power plant in the back, which often is in my in the comic strips. So Ryan is an optimist, and Randy not quite so much. So this shows that sort of bent for both those characters.
And then here's a few. We're getting into, I think these last ones are, these are the last ones, are these black and white drawings, which I really like.
Which is so timely, because Mouse just walked in and then she just walked out right during this. Mouse is my cat. She's my mouse cat. And the story behind this is that the black and white ones were done for another zine. It's called Summer Abstraction, or Abstract Summer. And I had just seen the Diebenkorn show at PAM, at the Portland Art Museum, and was so incredibly inspired by it. And so that entire zine is basically my homage, that's hard to say, deep corn and abstraction, and my sort of foraging into that realm. So I was getting really loose. This one is more representational because it's my cat, but this whole series has was out of that zine.
Well, see, and I forgot that your cat was named Mouse, and so I thought it was more like the narrative, right? That there's a mouse on the balcony, and then your cat.
Yeah.
Was, that's how my dog looks when there's a squirrel on the balcony. I tell you.
Squirrel, mouse.
The little crossed paws, and so these are nice. These augmented ones. So you've got the original black and white here.
Yes, this was an actual. This was inspired by a protest that Judy and I went to. About some of the actions of our current administration. We went downtown, and this is back when nothing was broken and there was, no smashed windows. This was just a peaceful protest, which actually probably ought to have been the name of this piece. Should have been peaceful protest, obviously with the dove. But yeah. There's again a little bit more abstract, and then I printed them out and then added some color to them for variation.
Yeah, I like the two, how different those two variations are. Ruth, I saw what you just did.
I can't see, so I don't know what's going on. But
I've got the little, I get a little ding ding every time.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, I was already in the middle of doing it when you said you hope nobody buys it.
Oh, I thought you bought it so it would be on hold for me. Okay, well then never mind. No, you got it. I mean, I've got access to Bridget anytime I want. She knocked her cat as I was talking about it.
I was actually kind of waffling when I picked the first two.
Yeah,
it's like the cat or the other turquoise one. I'm like,
I can get Bridget to draw me another one.
Oh, did you just buy it? She just bought it.
I did.
Thanks, Ruth.
Don't you dare draw another one.
You know what? You can draw my cat. I'll get you to draw my cat because my cat's really cute. She's not sure. No, that's sweet. I would love for you to, because I can have Bridget anytime she's local, right? I get to see her every week.
I need to make more of those.
You do.
Yeah.
Those sketchbooks, we need to do them.
Yeah.
So sunflowers, of course, I know you and your sunflowers, and I
absolutely love them.
Ending. That's where we're ending.
The sunflowers come up in my sketchbooks quite a bit. And this is probably a good time to mention also that you were talking about how, people give themselves little like Inktober, where they draw something every day. So for my 50th birthday, I requested all of my friends and family send me their favorite flower. And every day in my sketchbook, as a way to focus on joy and the joys of friendship, I'm drawing the flower of each of my friends and family each day, and then I post it up on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah,
so
if you haven't seen those, it's really been enjoyable. Flowers I haven't thought of. It's like, oh yeah, that one.
Yeah. So that's my present to me and my present to my friends and family as well. So it's a sketchbook activity.
No, it is nice. It's a very sweet thing to do in memory of your friends. So I am going to turn us off of screen sharing, if I can get my mouse to go in the right place. Stop share. What happens if I just do this? Yeah, oh, that does it. Okay.
There you go.
So we will stop sharing and go back to, oh, that's not actually stop sharing. That just stopped that thing. Okay, but now I can see this. Okay. So now
There's everybody.
We're back in regular Zoom. So if you want to do your, instead of gallery view, you can do your speaker view, and then you can see Bridget nice and big when she's talking, because I think she has some things in her studio that she wants to show us.
Basically, I have a ton of, if you could see my workspace right now, it's like everything is just spread out here in case I needed to show something. I've got, this is my latest sketchbook. This is number 155. It was just, you can see the Vespa. That's another thing that I could not land on everything for this show as far as what reoccurs and characters and whatnot that's in my show. I mean, I love bees, and I have a series of rat characters and creative alphabets, and not all of everything could go into the show. But you can kind of see this is my flower sketch that I've been doing for my friends and family. So every day I do that. I'll show you. This one was today's. That's for my friend Spill. She couldn't decide on a flower, so she said, I don't want to do like wildflowers or something. I said, I can do that. So, but here was yesterday's and the day before, and kind of see that. One thing that I've been doing since COVID started, and it's kind of a weird thing, is, well, first I'll show you. Okay, so this is, I told you that every sketchbook gets it gets like a title page, and I put the number, I put the days that it occurred in, and then, you know, I've been putting art modus vivendi, which is art way of life, you know, sort of thing. But what I have been doing now is every single day, I start now with the date. So this is August 19th. And what that does for me, and I don't know why, but with everything that's been happening, I just need to have some control, I guess. And so being able to, you know, kind of look at the day and what happened that day, and this need to just journal has just kind of sort of taken over, you know, and so now every page has a date. Where I left off, I start, you know, with the next one. So yeah, so that's just something that's kind of new. Before, I would date the beginning page, and sometimes I would say, oh, this happened on this date or whatever. But now it's like everything has a date, and it occurs within this, you know, box, I guess. Maybe that's symbolic of the boxes that we live in now.
So much happens on a day now.
Yes.
Like every day is like a year, kind of now.
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh, beautiful.
Sunflowers and things like that. So that was probably loud. This is sort of some homage to what date is this? Okay, I brought this one out because, of course, it has Charlie Brown on it, and on the inside was an homage to Calvin and Hobbes and Snoopy, just for giggles. What I should just open this up to questions. I mean, I've been doing this. Talk to me. I want to answer questions. Oh yeah, everyone's muted.
Everyone's muted. So yeah, go ahead and unmute yourself if you have a question for Bridget, and or I don't want to unmute everybody because some people might be making noises they don't want to share.
Oh, they can unmute themselves?
They can unmute themselves.
Oh, okay, if they have a question. Okay.
Yeah, if they have a question.
All right, I'll go. Your favorite Peanuts character?
Okay. So I love Snoopy for his vitality. I mean, his vivacious nature, his ability to just go into an alternate state of I'm fighting the Red Baron, which is something I would do as a kid. I would fall into make-believe at a moment's notice because, you know, you're in the car with your parents and you'd rather not be there. So I'm just going to pretend I'm doing this. And I would just literally turn my music on and just be somewhere else. But by the same token, I absolutely feel the kinship with Charlie Brown, that sort of self-esteem, you know, but he never gives up. So so Charlie Brown and Snoopy, which is they're sort of opposite of one another, but I guess that's the duality that is me. Good question from the cartoonist, Jack.
I think maybe Snoopy is sort of Charlie Brown's inner brave self.
Yeah. If you could be all that you wanted to be. Yeah. I got to shout to Jack because Jack works at the Willamette Week, and so he was in charge of that. He's in charge of that page that printed up my work and mentioned the gallery. So thank you, Jack.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. That's always nice to have the gallery in. And then of course, Southeast Examiner always gives us a lot of space too.
I got to shout to the Southeast Examiner too, because they are awesome. They are beautiful people. So
yeah, and they are running. I'll go ahead and plug our upcoming show in January. Southeast Examiner is going to run a copy of our Call to Artists, but it's also on the website. We're having a show in January. We always do print month in January, but this year we opened it up to not just local artists, and we want new artists who maybe we don't know already. So if you go to the website was on the slides, but it's sidestreetarts.com. If you go there and go to the apply link, and the deadline is not for a couple of weeks. So we're looking for all kinds of printmaking, monotype, anything that's not the giclée prints or digital reproductions, but any kind of handmade prints. We're looking for that. We're going to jury that, and we'll know by the start of November when we're doing that. And yeah, Southeast Examiner was very nice and ran that call for us. So any more questions for Bridget?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
You can hear me.
I can hear you.
Bridge,
Yes.
in your first large scale painting you showed us,
Mhm.
tell me about the single tentacle coming up from the coffee cup, right front and center of that painting. I couldn't help but notice it.
You couldn't help but notice the tentacle. Yeah. You know that comic strip that I did, Squid Row?
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and I'll show you where else. So that. So as someone who wrote a comic strip called Squid Row and who also lived near Cannery Row, yeah, that's that. Yeah. I think I might have even modeled it's pink just like this. So
probably, yeah.
you draw what's around you. Crazy Bridget.
Then there's this squid column in the Monterey Weekly too.
Yeah, people would get us confused actually. They would say, "Oh, I love your the way you did that, blah blah blah." And I'm like, "No, that's not me. That's not me." You said that thing, and I was like, "Nope, that's not me." Mm-mm.
I would always take credit for anything that someone wants to compliment me for. I have no problem.
Yeah, well,
Well,
it was
Bridget,
fun.
it really was nice getting a peek into your world,
My
and
wackadoo. Yeah.
yes, and so generous, right? Because it's very personal, and to just have, I mean, I'm sure you've chosen the ones, right? But to just have those open in the gallery, I mean, that, for an artist. Oh, I see Jack dog is walking. Somebody's got Linda's walking her dog. It's always good to see some Jack. To just open your soul like that and let people just go through your sketchbook. I mean, it's
Well, I'll be honest. I did
wonderful.
have to sort of pick through and make sure that everything was family friendly.
yeah, you have to go through every page. You can't just, because you remember it as being like, okay, when it gets down to it, yeah. But yeah, so that's a good thing to know. So they are family friendly. You can bring your kids into the gallery, and I think it's great. Bring kids into the gallery because get them started on their daily sketchbooks. I won't mention which sketchbook I want, or Ruth will buy it. So we can start one and buy one if there's any left after Ruth is done with them, and give it to a child that who can draw a little bit every day, or even better, do it with a child. Show them how to model that for a child or an adult. You don't need to wait. You can start now.
I gotta tell you, I am just a huge, I really believe in the power of sketchbooking. So
yeah, it is powerful.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Yeah. Ruth, you are muted. So whatever witty thing you just said, we couldn't hear it.
I'm on my Mac, and normally on a Windows machine, you can press the space bar down and it temporarily unmutes you.
Yeah.
I kind of assumed that it did that. I just said that I wish I could finish a journal.
You need to take it with you wherever you go. Be like Linus and never leave home without it.
Which one?
Well, that's the other thing. You gotta just carry one at a time.
That's
Well,
what's
maybe-
impressive to me, is that you go through one and then start another, and go through
Yeah.
one and start another.
Yeah, that's
I always
nice.
have like 20 different things going everywhere.
Mhm.
Do you guys want to see the embarrassing one?
Okay.
Sure, and then we'll stop recording. Show us your most embarrassing sketchbook, and then we'll show
Okay. Remember I told you that like I had a spiral ring one that I didn't carry around with me. I just stuck all my, just drawings in there. Okay. All right. You see if you can.
Oh yeah.
Is that Mr. Rogers? It's either
No.
Mr. Rogers or Pat Sajak. Who is?
It's Pat Sajak.
Oh my God!
I had the biggest crush on Pat Sajak when I was a kid. That's my most
Okay,
embarrassing sketchbook moment right there. You
That
gotta
is
hear
where
it.
we're going to stop recording. We can still keep talking, but thank you everyone who joined us. And this will be up on the website. We'll post if you didn't get to be here live, then you're not hearing me anyway, but we will post the recording on the website and also on our YouTube channel. You might want to subscribe to that. We do at least the 2 recordings a month, and we're working on other fun things to start doing every month. And Bridget and I are going to really be knocking our heads together in a socially distant way to come up with something super fun for the 18th. So, we're hoping, this was originally planned a year ago as a very participatory. We were going to have people in the gallery and be doing sketchbook events and all kinds of stuff.
Workshops, yeah.
And we're just like Charlie Brown, making the best of it that we can. And we just keep trying every month. So far, nobody's pulled the football out from under us yet. So, we're just going to keep going. And thank you for joining us. And join us again on the 18th. We will remind you on our various social media. I put in the chat, hopefully everyone saw it. Somebody had asked about following Bridget on, even though she's identified now as Judith, she's actually Bridget, and she is at Brigtoon, Brigtoon. And if you look back in your chat archive, you'll find that. And follow her on Instagram, follow Sidestreet Arts on everywhere, Facebook, all the different things. And bye, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks on the 18th.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.